I do think that this next season of Mastery is going to be really hyped. I think people are going to be super excited for it with how popular Classic fucking Hardcore is right now. I could easily see this popping off.
Season of Mastery released a few months after TBC Classic had dropped as an alternative for players who didn't wish to go down the path of expansions once again. These servers aim to answer many common points of feedback for Classic and to offer a somewhat different experience the second
Classic Season of Mastery 1 was a disaster. It sucked.
time around. And though these servers have recently closed as per their planned 12-month life cycle, Classic as a game has been seeing a huge uptick in players, both on the era servers as well as those taking on the hardcore challenge. Now more so than ever, it feels like we're hitting a real second, reignited interest to head back to Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms and get stuck in some good old-fashioned grinding. Today I want to talk about why Classic has seen this rise in interest now, the positives and negatives to take away from seasonal WoW so far, and the possibility—
I'ma just keep it real, alright? I go over to the fucking Classic era and I see a bunch of warriors sitting there posted up in their Nax gear with their world buffs ready to fucking raid because they spent some time in Ulduar, they busted their ass, they did 99 parse, and they got beat by Gus, the warlock. And they didn't like it. They didn't like it one bit. And you know what else? Ulduar is hard. I don't think it's a coincidence that Classic WoW starts getting popular again as soon as Ulduar comes out. It's just that simple.
For what the future of seasonal servers may hold. So then, Classic WoW, once again for the third time now? Well, it will be for some of us. I think the first big reason that Classic has seen a rise in players is just that Season of Mastery has gone. It wasn't exactly huge when compared to Wrath's player base, but it's just no longer a choice that is offered. That will leave many players with an active sub who want to continue.
No, nobody wants to do a harder version of Molten Core just to get the same Onslaught girdle. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody gives a fuck. Run all the way back. Put on all your buffs again. Have the trash respawn again. Bill stood in the fire again. He forgot that he had Living Bomb again. You gotta run back again. Trash respawned. We need to repair. Everybody repair. We wipe again. Somebody else needs to repair because they didn't repair whenever you told them to repair. Guys, I gotta go. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta, yeah, Warlock's AFK. You want to summon somebody in. You can't summon them in because you have to summon people outside of the instance. You go outside. You get killed by a rogue. Now you need to run back. Now 7 people are out of the instance trying to kill the rogue. And like, one of them dies. You finally get the guy summoned in. He gets in. You do the next boss. You kill the boss. It drops an item that's worse than the blue from Skull months, and oh man, nobody wants to do this.
Continue playing vanilla. So where do they go? Classic era.
Somebody says these problems only happen in noob guilds. I've got news for you about Classic WoW players. I don't think you're gonna like it.
Second is how dramatically the game has changed during the first 2 expansions, being the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, and it will continue to do so. For me, vanilla getting more popular now, when there is no fresh realm and people are actively taking on a community-driven challenge where they have to delete their character if they die, says a huge amount to me. Vanilla was the only version of WoW where the world was the size of a world, and that matters a lot more than you may think, because expansions have always been comparatively small in size, and
it did, except for Cataclysm. Except for Cataclysm, they tried to change that. It didn't work, but they tried. And there were some good things about Cataclysm. So yeah, Oh no, here we go again. Asmongold calling all classic players retards. I didn't say that. I'm just saying that they're slower than an average. They're slower than an average WoW player. So like if you had to compare the brain of like a, you know, this is like a PoE player, this is like a retail WoW player, this is a Diablo 4 player, this is like a cookie clicker player, this is a Among Us player, and you guys don't see it, but my hand's on the floor, and that's where classic WoW's at. Yeah.
Have at maximum increased the level cap by 10. Vanilla is 2 entire continents with 60 levels to get through. Expansion started to treat leveling as a series of convenient hubs with optimized gear and weapons for your specialization. Vanilla has you go halfway across the world for a weapon that you might be using for the next 15 levels because it's just that much better than anything else. And expansions assumed that we are level cap and that there's people who need to catch up. During TBC, Elite Quest...
Yeah, the world in TBC was Outland. That's it. There was no reason to go out anywhere else besides Outland. I think that was the worst thing that TBC did. And every single other expansion after that did the same thing.
Was removed from Vanilla, as well as XP required to hit level cap lowered. In Wrath it was lowered even more, and then we had Heirlooms and the LFD. Well, in original Wrath we had LFD anyway. In Classic there is nothing to assume. You start at level 1 just as everyone else does. The game isn't afraid of you taking months to hit level cap because there is just that much to do and see in the world before you hit level 60. And back in the day it was not uncommon at all to see players with weeks and weeks of playtime for their first level 60. That meant something. In short, expansions have started to push you more and more towards playing the end game as the main content. Classic.
Yeah, I mean, like, TBC was great, Wrath is great, but Vanilla is special. There are a lot of things that I wish they would take from Wrath and TBC and put them in Vanilla. But it's a very special game, and I think that also people like getting all of the world buffs and killing Fire Maw without having to go behind the wall. I think they like that. And do you know why they like that? That's right. Because it's easy.
Does not do that, and I think that makes it really stand out. Third reason for Classic's growth is when MMOs are popular, they get more popular because they are more popular. There has to be some kind of word or phrase for this. I'm going to call it popularity weaving. If you see people on Twitch, recommendations on YouTube, other people in your guild and so on.
Look at this, right? You have Classic WoW. This is retail. You can tell if it's retail if you don't know what's happening on the screen. This is classic, that's retail. I guess there's a pretty good amount of retail here, never mind. Usually there's way more classic.
All on hardcore, and then you think to yourself, wait, aren't they just ghost towns? I thought no one played there. Then you go log into a starter zone on a hardcore server, it's gonna be a big surprise. It's not even just the hardcore starter zones either. Try Orgrimmar or Stormwind on the big clusters like Whitemane or Firemaw. You see a lot of people in the game, you get neuron activation, game looks alive, and you think, I'll try the game again then. Fourth, and something which I'll mention several times during the video, is the hardcore challenge. I've done a video on getting started on it already if you wanted some information. In short though, it's trying to get to level 60 without dying, and for a challenge designed around questing, it's surprisingly fun. Just as with the previous reasoning, leveling zones are full of people non-stop, but perhaps biggest of all, it makes you play WoW in a different way, where you're suddenly a lot more clueless about the game than you thought you were. Everyone thinks they have classic gameplay solved until a Defias Pillager does half your health in one fireball.
That wouldn't happen to me. If I did this, this would never happen. Whenever I had I did the Iron Man challenge, they had to take me down with an invisible mob. They took me down with an invisible mob. That's the only way they could do it.
or that one Son of Aragorn and Silver Pine Forest catches you out. Hardcore puts a level of challenge back into the game, tests even the most experienced player's knowledge, and creates an environment where you are even more invested into your character's growth than normal. And the final reason as to Classic becoming more popular now is it's just different from raid logging. Many versions of WoW get into a raid log state after some time, and if raid...
Including Classic, by the way. Classic WoW also will become a raid log Andy system. Like, that's what happened in actual Classic. That's it.
Raiding's what you like to do, that's fine, but feeling as though you have something to work towards is fun, and very much what MMOs are all about, so Classic Era is there for that demand at the moment.
There it is.
All these joined together have led to a situation where once dead servers are now seeing an organic resurgence, leveling zones are once again busy, auction houses packed with items, and endgame content restarting. And you would certainly hope that Blizzard has seen this growth over the past few months, and have been cooking something up for Classic fans, be it through seasonal servers or just a plain fresh. You know Holly Longdale, who joined Blizzard to work on Classic back in 2020? She used to be on EverQuest, where they had time-lock progression servers. These are, would you believe it, near enough one-year duration servers that work off different rule sets, such as randomized loot from similar level enemies, or holding...
I don't like the idea that your character gets deleted at the end of Season of Mastery. I think that's weird. I think all the characters should just go to like a... like a standard realm. Because, like, whenever I know my character's going to get deleted, I'm not invested in the character. I don't really care that much.
Player votes to decide when the next major content drop happens. EverQuest started their time-lock progression servers in 2015, mind you, and they're still going to this day. And I think Season of Mastery for a first attempt did do a lot of things well, nerfing the boosting meta by making mobs in dungeons go CC immune after a while, more content available.
I don't think that nerfing boosting is probably that great of an idea, to be honest. I think you should just let people boost if they want to boost. Who cares? If not, that's fine too. Like, I don't really... Like, I'm not a big one to, like, control what players do. Let people do what they're gonna do, man.
From launch, such as the tier 0.5 quest lines and Diamol, easier to farm reagents and eventually extra crafting procs, similar to how alchemy worked in TBC, lowering the cost of mounts to fit a faster leveling speed, removal of the debuff limit, and so on. There were negatives too though, for sure. Its launch date came a little too early for many who were already enjoying TBC and didn't quite want to go back to vanilla yet. The PvP ranking system was sped up through doubling RP gains instead of halving decay or any other system, meaning players were still forced into an unhealthy grind. On top of that,
people got the Grand Marshal gear that was just as good as it was, twice as fast. And it's like Grand Marshal got twice as easy, and fucking Molten Core got twice as hard.
PvP gear existing from the outset meant that hitting even rank 10 would unlock gear that surpassed the majority of items found in raiding content, which made 40-man raiding not feel as impactful. About raiding though, I have this idea there are two main groups of people who want to raid in World of Warcraft. There are those who want progression and those who want to collect a loot. Classic all the way up to Ulduar has been a great game for loot collectors, and a poor one for progression enjoyers. The divide in difficulty between hard mode...
If someone was a progression enjoyer, they're not playing Classic. These are for loot collectors. Give me the purple items. I will hit 3 on my keyboard until I receive the legendary mace.
And normal has put up a barrier of above average performance needed to access the best loot. Ryla the Grand Crusader should be a step down comparatively, but expect ICC to be a step up once again, and then
I think ICC is gonna... I think Ulduar is the hardest one. And I think Ulduar is the hardest one by a large margin.
Will come along and completely blow everything out of the water. Retail, on the other hand, is a great game for progression and not such a great one for loot collectors. Mythic raids are on a whole other level to anything you've seen in Classic, loot is personal, and at times it can feel much more down to RNG. And without ever dividing a raid's difficulty, I don't think you can have it be somewhat challenging. Whilst people did say...
And also, like, that's another thing. The difficulties of raids sucks. Like, I wish that, like, every raid was one difficulty, and it was just like kind of easy but not super easy, and like there was maybe like a couple of like really capstone challenges like ultimates in Final Fantasy, or like Hell Mode, Lost Ark, or something like that, Mage Tower. And other than that, it's like a Nixia, right? You kill a Nixia, that's a Nixia. It's done. It's like what's good about PoE. You kill Shaper, you killed Shaper. There's not like fucking there's not like a level 68 version of Shaper.
Again, how easy classic raiding was. Maybe it was never about being hard, but just providing a place for you to press your buttons.
It was about people thinking that they were hard for pressing their buttons. That's what it was always about. Uber Shaper? Yeah, well they've added hard modes for some of these bosses, but you see what I'm saying, right?
Collect some satisfying
There's
purple
not like an
upgrades.
easy mode version.
Also, believe me, you don't want hard 40-man raids. Remember WildStar? They did this.
Yeah,
it's hard
no
enough
way.
getting 20 people for Mythic. Getting 40 above average players is just not realistic for the majority. Can you imagine the guild poaching and having everyone to learn that one mechanic that can wipe the raid? Yeah, no thanks. I guess what I'm saying is that currently we're seeing a lot of people coming back to vanilla purely for the purpose of leveling content. I don't think any other version of WoW could pull this off. And
that's very true. Vanilla WoW is like one of the only MMOs where the game doesn't begin at the max level. The game begins at level 1. I think it's because there's less skill in the rotation, makes you feel like you're noticing the upgrades in your gear more. Yeah.
Raids are far more for loot collectors than providing a big challenge. And whilst Blizzard definitely took on board a very common bit of feedback that raids were too easy in vanilla, perhaps going down the road of trying to make Classic into a game more focused on the end game was just not an idea which really made sense. If you remember, Season of Mastery at the start had a bonus 40% XP from all activities and even more XP from elite quests. Later
like, I would have loved to do the classic Season of Mastery content. But I'm not going to do that if I have to level and farm a bunch of consumables. It takes too long. It's too much work. Fuck.
Was buffed to 100%, which given the fact this server was designed to last for 12 months is perfectly reasonable. However, at the outset, Blizzard did not confirm you would be able to transfer characters on seasonal servers to the live Classic realms. They would be going to Classic Era, which at the time was not much of a selling point. It was kind of like having your character thrown into the void. I think if people knew they could have moved to TBC or Wrath at the end of the server's life cycle, it would have encouraged a lot more people to try it out.
Exactly.
On top of that, you could justify not increasing leveling experience or allowing players to choose whether or not they want the bonus experience, just as how Joyous Journey has worked in Classic. The next big point for me has to be classes. If it's not a vanilla, no change is fresh, surely something has to give here. We tried Season of Mastery, we buffed raids, we did no world buffs, and we got the warrior meta back once again. This is of course a point where everyone's going to have a different opinion. Using talents from other expansions doesn't seem like much of a runner to me. They are trees built off being level 70 or 80 or what have you, on top of us not having core.
No, they shouldn't add TBC or Wrath trees into vanilla WoW. They should buff or change a few talents. Like, I think that with Season of Mastery, they should change a lot of stuff. You don't make some changes, make all of the changes. And just see what happens. Throw a bunch of shit on the wall and see what sticks.
Expansion abilities that these talents are used on, like Mutilate or Arcane Blast or Incinerate and so on. I'm not sure minor changes would cut it either. You could give a Paladin Taunt and Crusader Strike, they're still going to go in 30 seconds flat either way. You could give Moonkins infinite mana and they won't be top 10 on DPS. And that's without even going into itemization or the complete near lack of gear tailored towards specific specs. At the moment, the distance between the top performers and the bottom is just way too large, with or without world buffs. I mean, what I'd like to see is each spec be somewhat viable in the role they were designed for, with the intentions they were designed around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. There's no reason that Moonkin, like a Moonkin or a Ret Paladin in Classic WoW is a dead raid slot. It's a waste of space. You could just bring a better class and that's all there is to it. And it should not be like that. It's stupid. It creates drama. It shouldn't, it's just so much drama. Just fucking make them a bit better.
Enhancement shamans use two-handers. What if that was actually somewhat viable? Resto druids are designed around healing over time, but in Classic it's only really healing touch or regrowth. Can you make HOTS work in Classic? Individual spec tier may go a long way to help this, but then most of your 40-man raid wants tier from bosses that drop a couple of pieces. In Season of Mastery they did start making bosses drop more loot after some time had gone by.
Yeah,
maybe this is just a simple solution to the potential issue. Adding tier would have another big bonus in that it creates new chase items and less wasted loot on a faster content cadence. Even if you brought a Shadow Priest to a raid, were they ever going to get the first mission there or the first Talisman of Ephemeral Power? Probably not unless they're the GM. It would have gone to a mage or something. If tier drops for a priest,
ours to a holy priest.
Go to a priest. Another thing to consider is world buffs. Do we bring them back? I think the
yes. Bring back world buffs. You want to know why? It's because it makes the raid easier. And people that play Classic are dog shit at the game. And all the war is too hard. It's fun. It's fun to get all the world buffs and blow up the boss. Think about it like this. In Elden Ring, you can get the Commander Nail banner. You can get seppuku. You can get the Blood Loss and Frenzy and Vicinity ring. You can get the low health, more damage ring. You can get the, let's see here, Golden Vow. You can get the Exalted Flesh. You can get the Terra Magica. You can get Comet Azer. All of these things you can get that will just allow you to completely annihilate a boss and make the game into a joke. Like, it's not even a game at this point. That's it. So, but do people think, does that ruin Elden Ring? No. People think it's great. Because you can. You're over here talking shit like you didn't clear Ulduar. You didn't clear it 10 years ago. Bro, I cleared Ulduar before half of the people talking shit even played the game. Well, I was Herald of the Titans. I remember, bro, the hardest decision for me back in Wrath of the Lich King was, should I use my Heroic Lich King title or should I use Herald of the Titans? I just, which one makes me feel better than other people? And it was like, this is a constant decision in my mind. I didn't know what to go with. Yeah, Grand Crusader, like we didn't get that one. But we got the other two. And Herald was better. Yeah, I did go with it, Herald. Absolutely. Did you get carried? No, I didn't get carried, bro. I had to do it myself. I wasn't a streamer back then. It was awful. I actually had to raid lead. I raid led the first kill of Heroic Lich King.
Chronoboon was a really good solution to being forced into raid logging, and if we assume it's supposed to be easy raid content which is blasted through, well, buffs kind of fit into that power fantasy of having 24 buffs running at the same time and just blowing stuff up. Maybe even allow Chronoboon with suspended world buffs to be sold on the auction house.
This is why world buffs are good right here. This right here is why world buffs are good. And this matters more than a raid being challenging. Because if you cared about a raid being challenging, you wouldn't be playing this game.
You probably want to put some kind of level restriction on them though, or you can just have 12 accounts and farm boons by summoning level 1s around the world. Wait, I'm just gonna...
Then let them do it, who cares? Who gives a fuck?
Going to be giving them ideas here, aren't I? Either way, if there is class rebalancing, it definitely has to be done very carefully. If you can just run into mobs and AoE them down Wrath of the Lich King style, that's not going to be any good. And in raids, I think the low end DPS need to be brought up and the top end down. I don't think warriors can stay where they are at the moment, because if everything was at that power level, the end game would just get deleted way too fast. Overall,
because they're too good. It's like warriors, rogues, mages, they should nerf them. Yeah. If they want to make the game better, they should do that. Or at least make the other classes as good.
in Season of Mastery 2, or whatever it's called should it happen, I think one of the biggest things to realize is that Classic is a game that has a lot of replayability before level cap, and fast-tracking people into endgame is not necessarily a good thing, despite having an increased content cadence. I hope some class changes to adjust the meta and
the good thing about leveling is we good? Is we good? We good? Okay. So the good thing about leveling is the fact that it's a very measured experience and you know exactly what you need to do. If you are level 37, you need to get to level 38. That's it. That's your goal. You log on and you don't need to think about what do I need to do at endgame? Let me check the battle pass. How many achievements do I need to farm? No. You just focus on getting level 38. It is a very guided direction. And that's another reason why Classic WoW retained a lot of players.
More playstyles feel useful. I don't think raid content needs to try and be hard. Let people chase their gear and blast, and if there's gonna be world buffs, make them not terrible to get. Ranking and ranking reward availability.
They should make world buffs every single time that you get one. Chrono Boon is stupid. It's much better than what they had, but it's stupid. What they should do is they should make every single time that you get a world buff, it should give you an item in your inventory that is unique and is a consumable in the exact same way that the potions that you get from the Zandalari fucking trader is. You can buy one potion, and then that's it. And you have to wait until you use that potion, then you buy another potion. That's what they should do. It makes it easier. You don't have to fuck around with some item. You don't have to use all of them at the same time. You can get them at your own leisure. And that's it. And also, you don't have to be online constantly to just stack 37 Onyxia buffs a day. World buffs causes raid log. Yes, and it's just an item, like you don't... It's just so easy. Like, if the player would have received this, they get this instead.
Both need a rethink. There were a lot of positives and learning points from the first season, which can be carried forwards. You need to tell people you can transfer your characters to live classic realms right from the beginning. If there's going to be bonus XP, make it a choice the player can make individually. And hardcore mode has had a huge amount of influence on classic's population.
They should make it to where I start this up, so maybe it's a bad idea. They should make it to where, like, if you level to 60 and you don't use the bonus experience, you can buy the original vanilla WoW mounts. That's what they should do. Give people a reason to do it. Make a hardcore server? Yeah, sure. I think they should have a hardcore server for sure. There has to be an incentive behind not taking it. Exactly. So let them buy the old mounts.
And is worth consideration too. Leveling a somewhat changed class on hardcore and working towards those modified talents or abilities would be super hype. It would be like playing the game back in the day and hitting level 40 for the first time once again. On the other hand, hardcore has shown success even without any changes, so there's that too. Whatever happens, seasonal is seasonal. That's the main reason that I don't mind them trying to do different things. You aren't ever going to please everyone, so pick a direction and stick to it rather than trying to compromise and make a game for everyone, which at the end of the day doesn't really suit anyone. Any thoughts?
Yeah, like you bring back the Scepter of the Shifting Scarab Sands. Bring back that fucking black bug. What happened to the black bug? Oh, well, people are going to play all day. Good. Thank God. Yeah, you back to farming bugs, bitch. That's the way the game is. Yeah, like the bald man will ride the black bug. Yeah, remember that? Oh, God. Play all day, so what? I'm not going to farm it. Then don't, bro. Then don't. They should add in, like, these are the things I think Blizzard should do. Like, cool things Blizzard need. Cool things for... Things for Season of Mastery 2. Let me finish the video, I'll talk about it.
In the first season of Mastery, and what things are the top of your priority list if they do a second season. Drop them down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you on the next one very soon.
Alright, I thought it was about to be over, so I just figured I'd do this. Okay, so we gotta talk about this whole situation, alright? We gotta look into this. World buffs is consumable and bad. Yes, alright, let's talk about things that Classic WoW needs that will make it better. Okay, like events, things like that. Cool things. World buffs return, become individual, unique, consumables. Next. Returns. Season of Mastery free to play. That's probably a big one. Probably not going to happen. But if they made Season of Mastery free to play, it would be insane. Yeah, I'm thinking like world events, things like that. Faster respawn on world bosses. Yeah. Redesign world boss spawns. Rework. Obviously. Bad classes. XP buff. Turning it off and hitting 60 allows you to buy original vanilla epic mounts. I think this would be good. Yeah, this would be good right here.